Astronaut Christina Koch, who led the first all-female spacewalk in 2019, has returned to Earth from the International Space Station after breaking the record for the longest single space flight by a woman. Now, the Soyuz MS-13 capsule landed in the Kazakh desert steppe, carrying Koch as well as European astronaut Luka Parmitano and Russian cosmonaut Alexander Svortskov. Well, Koch's mission broke the record for the longest stay in space by a woman previously held by NASA's Peggy Whitson. Well, I'm joined now by astronaut Per Wimmer to talk a little more about what this really means. I mean, 328 days on the International Space Station. How remarkable is that for an astronaut? And from your experience in space, how does that feel on the human body?
Oh, this is an absolutely remarkable achievement. 328 days. It's almost 1 year, one whole year in space. Absolutely incredible. And to put this into context, this is the longest any female astronaut have ever been into space. That's it. But it's also in the context of all space flights. It's actually the 5th longest that any person has ever been into space. It's only the Russians and then Scott Kelly, the American astronaut, who in 2015, 2016 spent a little bit longer, 340 days in space. So we're talking about, it's really up there in terms of achievement. Also, she did a fantastic spacewalk. She did 6 spacewalks in total, but obviously the first one was an all-female spacewalk, was highly important. So I guess to summarize, I mean, the importance is here, women are safely and back on Earth, having been into space, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't get more women into space, and that's exactly what we've got to achieve. Space is for everyone, and I think Christina Koch has shown that completely here.
Right, it really helps. I mean, in an age of social media and, short attention spans, for NASA and these missions to get this kind of extra attention, it really matters because people need to be interested in space programs to keep that funding there. Yeah, and keep investment in it altogether. But I really do need to ask you, I mean, you've had your taste of being in orbit. Tell me what it felt like to you, and then multiple that, times the number of days that she was actually up there and the others have been. What does that do to you and your human body under those conditions?
Well, first of all, Christina would have experienced on the way up there, she would experience an enormous amount of G-forces on her body, at least minimum 6 Gs, so 6 times gravity on her chest, as well as GZ pulling sort of blood out of her head on the way up there. So it's no small feat just to go into space. You do get exposed to very heavy forces, and that's what it requires to leave the Earth's atmosphere. Once you are in space and you are in this weightlessness environment, actually a number of astronauts become a bit nauseous, even having gone through training and what have you. So even the first days can be a little bit tricky. You feel a bit nauseous. Some astronauts actually vomit as well. It's not easy. But staying up there beyond 2 months, something else happens to your body. Your bones would start to lose themselves, to deteriorate a bit. And that's just the way it is up in space due to radiation and what have you. The good news is once she's back on Earth, it will come back again, and she has to drink a lot of milk now and hopefully eat a lot of fresh fruit.
Right.
But it is quite a remarkable achievement having been into space for her. She has traveled 139 million miles over these 328 days. So it's an enormous travel she's been through. 5,248 times she's traveled around the Earth. It's quite an achievement she's done here. But above all, she has inspired a young generation of females wanting to go into space. And I think that is really the most important thing here.
Absolutely. I mean, tell us, though, about the experience of coming back down to Earth. I mean, you must have gone from an absolute high of actually seeing outer space for the first time and then just mentally adjusting to being back on terra firma. But for her to have been up there for almost a year, what is it like mentally, first of all, to deal with being in orbit for that long, and then having to come back down and just readjust to life on the planet?
It's a quite significant adjustment going from being in a weightless environment for such a long period of time. The body really adjusts. Our bodies are very flexible. They can really adjust to these strange environments. To suddenly go through a relatively silent, weightlessness environment, to going through the Earth atmosphere, where she would experience 3,000 degrees centigrade outside the capsule on the way down, lots of noise, lots of heat, and then to finally land on the steppes of Kazakhstan with a big bump. It's sort of the equivalent of a small car crash, actually, she would have gone through, a planned car crash, if you like. The good news is she's got a very comfortable seat that's custom-made for her. And then to open the hatch and then finally be out in fresh air again. No doubt she needs a little bit of time to find her feet again and drink some milk, as I said, and get back on her feet. But she can be proud of her achievements. She's done a very important piece of work with experimenting with proteins, which can have positive effect in terms of cancer research. So she's done some very important work up there for humanity, if you like. So no, she's a fantastic astronaut and would have gone through an amazing experience here.
Fascinating. Per Wimmer, thank you so much for joining us there from London. It's great to get your insight. Time now for some sports insight.